So in the month of April, I had the insane idea to participate in the PleinAIRPRIL Art Challenge, where artists paint something every day for all 30 days of April. Now, I wasn't planning on participating this year, but because I love making my life a chaotic mess willingly, I jumped in on this challenge with no concept of a plan, so let's see how I did. My tool of choice here is my trusty iPad, and I am using Procreate as my software of choice. One day I like to be able to whip out the fancy painting supplies with confidence, but that just ain't me this year. And now since that I am a noob, and I'm honestly still learning how to paint, my theme for my first attempt of the challenge is, drumroll please, drawing from my personal photos. And y'all, just because you feel like you don't know enough about painting, it doesn't mean you can talk yourself out of trying this challenge. I'm here for a fun time, not a long time, so I am gonna fail for it in front of everyone here. I'm just gonna jump right into the pieces I painted in April because I could yap all day and this video could be hours long and you wouldn't want that, would you? Huh? So we have the layout here. The left is the reference photo from my personal camera roll, where I drew over people's faces because this painting ain't about them. And here on my right is the workspace where I will attempt to recreate and materialize a painting, non-painfully. Oh yeah, this was from Little Tokyo and Los Angeles, California. I usually start my drawings with line art, but because this is PleinAIRPRIL, I tried super hard to resist the urge and just block in the shape with colors as seen here. Now they look like a collection of very unflattering blobs, but I will be using the eraser tool to refine the shapes throughout the painting. This was one of those pieces where it's like, oh god, no, this is like a disaster, all the way right until I almost finished it. And yeah, I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but I was very happy with the results in the end. Okay, so I thought this was gonna be an easy painting. Nope. I swear I spent 80% on the painting on these goddamn clouds. Like, no matter what I did, it just didn't look right. My rendition is giving Windows XP start screen. I tried to save it by adding more shadows and adding those dramatic sun rays. I remember I started this late at night, but I was falling asleep near the end. And at last, it is done. I swear all my brain power went to those clouds. 2 drawings down, 28 more to go. On the flip side here, I thought this was going to be a difficult painting, maybe because I cheated and blocked out the card in the photo, but it only took me an hour and 15 minutes. I took this random photo when I was being a passenger princess and just thought, hey, this one looked pretty neat. I also thought the grays in the reference photo was so boring and dull, so I made it dark blue, and voila! Piece number 3 complete. Dramatic cloud check, dramatic sun check, random motorcyclist check. This photo was from a trip to Seattle I took with friends a couple years back, and they don't joke about it being cloudy there all the time. I swear this photo was the only time I saw a hint of blue sky. Anyways, I was actually on a plane for another trip in April when I was working on this, and from start to finish with the entire duration of the plane ride. This was another piece where I thought it was going to be an absolute catastrophe until right before I finished it. I like to think I got the overcast feel down, so 10 out of 10. One of my favorites in the first batch of 10 days. Thank you, Long Plane Ride, for your contribution to this painting. This one was done while I was on vacation, and I had hoped it was going to be an easy one. It would not. I feel like things will never go as planned. It's going to be a recurring pattern here. I was also rushing to get this done because I had plans to not be a complete shut-in, so it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but it got done. Ka-chow! My phone is so old that I realized a lot of my photos are actually pretty washed out, so I took it upon myself to make sure the colors translated well in my painting. It started with a lot of color blocking and unflattering blobs again, so I tried to make sure all of the shapes were correct before adding details and praying the painting turned out okay. I was also learning how to simplify shapes and exaggerating the neon light in brighter areas like those bushes and the sidewalk. Definitely one of the more difficult subjects I painted, but the payoff was so worth it. Another banger. 10 out of 10. But this in the previous painting were from my trip to Tennessee, and I swear to God, every single time I tell people what I did there, they think all I did was drink. And they are absolutely right. This was another distillery we visited and sampled their collection of adult funny juice. I'm starting to use the smudge tool for the horizontal lines and the clouds and bushes here. I only noticed it now, but maybe it was the subconscious stylistic choice. Either way, I liked how it turned out here. What a beautiful, foggy, humid day it was. I can feel it through the screen here. Next day. Oh look, a rare occasion where it was indeed an easier painting. I should probably mention that for most of these paintings, I'm only using a single brush. It's from this brush set by Jing Sketch, The link will be in the description below. I don't know why I gravitated towards that brush. It helped me block in colors for a large area and also draw out small details all in one. This was from a photo from my trip to the Philippines. Here's my friend Jesus vibing with these clouds. And done. Yeah, I remember putting so much effort into making this painting work out, and I mean, there are elements that did work, but I'm not sure if it's because the yellow-green color I just did not like, or if everything seemed so muddy. This took roughly over 3 hours, and I remember trying so hard to stay awake and ultimately had to call it quits before I passed out on my desk. I was so tempted to just tape my eyelids open. I tried using the lasso tool to outline the leaves and tried to save the paintings, but oh well. Still posted it on Instagram, still learned a lot. Next. This painting brings back a lot of great memories. So I got a matching tattoo with one of my close friends, and she went first. So while she was suffering and getting her arm absolutely mauled by the tattoo artist, I was speed painting this with no care in the world. Don't worry guys, she's okay. I was also suffering when it was my turn. I really love taking photos of dramatic clouds and sunsets while I'm like out and about, so I have this massive collection of sunset photos in my camera roll. Something about that really strong hue of reddish pink was so satisfying to paint, and then adding all the yellow orange on the bottom and a little hint of purple on the top. The green sign was just the perfect cherry on top. 10 out of 10, one of my top 3 favorites from my PleinAIRPRIL challenge. Another top 3 favorite here, and y'all will see why in just a second. This is the photo of the infamous mirror bean in Chicago. I remember coming to the city on a business trip. I set my clock to wake up at 6 in the morning so that I can have a chance to enjoy the bean without a crowd. I mean, there was barely anyone there, as you can see from the reference photo. Anyways, I spent a lot more time than I'm willing to admit to make sure that bean looked like a mirror, and I am so glad it paid off. For a painting that took 2 hours and 45 minutes, worth it. I just wish that I caught out the far right building was a little lopsided before I uploaded to everywhere. Now it's just gonna haunt me in my sleep every night. Gotta love that deep blue summer sky. Wait, I think this photo was from October. This was the painting that made me realize that I did not need to draw every single details one-to-one to the reference photo. As long as I had the bigger shape down and strategically placed the lights and shadow, the big shapes would still translate as well as the painting. Everything here is still done with the same singular brush and the lasso tool for the leaves of the trees here. Grah! I think I really like using the smudge tool to give that illusion of a cloudy night sky. The original photo was taken in portrait mode, so I had to Frankenstein the rest of the drawing to make it in landscape. I can also tell I kept the fun lighting to the very end. Leading up to it, I was afraid that the colors would be way too dull and was also again thinking it was going to be another catastrophe waiting to happen. But the final result is why we must always trust the process, my friends. Ta-da! I felt compelled to not draw a landscape that day and drew fish. I think I was drawn to that saturated, deep, rich blue, so yeah. This was definitely from a much bigger picture, and I just cropped it out to focus on the fish instead because I did not want to draw every other detail in the rest of the photo. Drawing and painting the fishes was a first for me, and I attempted to imitate an underwater effect as well. You can see I omitted a couple of our fishy friends here. This was the only way this was going to be done in a reasonable amount of time. Sunbeams in the water, check. Reflection of the waves, check. Bubbles, check. Done. Another day, another dramatic sky painting. I was relying on the smudge tool so hard for the clouds and try to make the dark clouds contrast with the yellow tint. It turned out okay, but the show must go on. One thing about doing these 30-day challenges is you just have to accept that you're not going to like every single piece you put out, especially in the short amount of time you have to produce each drawing. But it's okay, it's all part of the fun. Next painting. And another sky. Maybe it's my new favorite thing to paint. I see pink and purple in the sky, I snap a picture. We all love a beautiful sunset here. This photo was from my trip to Texas last year, and the night I took this photo brought back a lot of good memories. I think I was heading to a birthday party on the day I was painting this, so I had to crank out a fast one. 1 hour and 30 minutes, not bad. Day 17, I realized we are more than halfway through the challenge. I remember taking this photo on the same day I drew this. Had morning coffee with friends on such a beautiful Thursday afternoon, and the sunny weather was wonderful. Delightful, spectacular. Okay, I'm reading off what the stars here. There was just something about the striking yellow color surrounded by blues. It was fun defining the shadows from the sign as I kept building on top of the painting. Voila! This sunset photo here was from a recent trip to the Philippines. I was riding on a motorbike with my partner along the highway that also went along the beach line and watched the sunset together. Pretty romantic, huh? The waters are very calm, so it was a challenge to have the reflection register as water, since for me to define water in a painting is by adding ripples. I think the rocks and shadows of the boat really help create that illusion. I'm once again seeing my phone camera take some washed out photos, so kinda don't want to upgrade my camera, but maybe it's for me to think about. Anyways, finished! Yes, this year is another passenger princess photo. This day I was feeling super motivated and wanted to have a little challenge. So the roads and cars were a first for me. I really loved how the clouds were casting a shadow for parts of the road, and then the sun was still shining through around the clouds and onto the cars and the road. I also love the illusion of depth that's just created by the distant hills and the orange car all the way in the back there. I remember getting the road lines in perspective was really difficult because I had kept drawing it so flat. But you know, it turned out great here. Another banger! I had no idea I was capable of creating such a painting. Looking back, I was really surprised that this painting only took me 2 hours flat. My earlier paintings in the challenge were timed at 3 to even 4 hours, but with the amount of details it had, colored me shocked when it turned out to only be 2 hours. The highlight of this piece was definitely the rippled water reflection. I remember making sure the light also stood out and illuminated the surroundings. I would love to do more night and urban paintings like these in the future. Now I'll make sure I'll snap a photo every time I go in a city so I can try to paint it and recreate it at home. Slay. Ooh, here's a simpler piece. Wisterias are one of my favorite flowers. In fact, I'm currently trying to grow one in my backyard. This particular photo was from my family's cemetery plot, and this was the thriving wisteria tree there. Maybe I need to work on the flower petals a bit, but I love the striking blue and the different tones of the purple in this painting. Very simple and understated painting, but a painting that does mean a lot to me, so call this a win. And sorry to disappoint y'all, but I did not make it to all 30 days. So this year was my final piece on the challenge, and of course it ends with a bang. This was another photo from the Philippines trip, and it's got everything. Water, light blue sky with a touch of yellow, building, land, trees, shadows, distant mountain. It's like everything I painted previously all coming together in this one image. And voila, my final PleinAIRPRIL piece. And what a piece to end this challenge with. I came into the challenge unprepared and had no idea what to expect, but locking in and pumping out drawing day after day made me paint things way out of my comfort zone, and I've managed to even surprise myself. I definitely see a jump in improvement not only in my technical painting skills but also my confidence as well. My biggest takeaway from the challenge, my friends, is to always trust the process. So here are all 22 paintings I did in a single screen here. I did try to intentionally pick a variety of subject matters and also try to have a variety of colors for each day, so I'm not drawing like 7 blue paintings in a single week. And here is my day 1 versus my day 22 painting. Here are my least versus my most favorite paintings I did throughout the challenge. Obviously the ones with the yellow-green barf color was my least favorite. And last but not least, my top 5. I was originally going to do a top 3, but it was hard to narrow it down to 3, but here's a collection of my top 5 personal favorites. So if you're looking to level up your painting skill in such a short amount of time, I definitely recommend joining in on the challenge next year. I mean, you don't technically have to wait until April, but it is more fun when a big batch of artists Instagram is participating. Warrior Painters is the group that organizes the hashtag, so many thanks to them for creating such a fun challenge for us internet earthlings. If I do this again next year, I definitely want to do another video. Thank you so much for watching this video and wishing you all an absolutely wonderful day. Bye!